Hello, my name is Maria Bezupova and you're at my channel Fertilizers Jazz. Here we talk about events, trends, technologies in the world of fertilizers and agriculture. Please subscribe to the channel, put like to this video, and let's jazz. With today's video, we finalize the mini-series of discussions with prominent market analysts, and topic of today is nitrates. In order to cover this topic, I am happy to host again a very cool guest, Manuja Pandey, Senior Market Editor at ICIS. I am happy to welcome you, Manuja, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Hi, Maria. It's very nice to be online. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. Pleasure is mine. Manuja, we meet at the end of May nitrate season, and usually Q2 is rather quiet in the market. However, now the market in general is not quiet at all. It is, I would say, on fire. So the next quarter, actually this quarter that we are already now starting, will be different from the usual, I think. But before discussing this Q2, I would like, first of all, to ask you to look a bit around back and share your view regarding the Q1. So what were those most important events, trends that brought us to the situation today, specifically for the nitrates, and how Q1 season passed for the nitrates?
Okay. Maria, if you recall, Q1 actually started off very well for nitrates. We entered into 2025 with a delayed season for Q4 of 2024. And so we saw a lot of demand coming in because the weather improved. If you recall, most of 2024 was impacted, the seasons were impacted because of inclement weather. There was too much rain all across Europe and the UK, and farmers were not able to get onto their fields on time. So even in Q4 of 2024, we saw the season that the planting and the application was delayed because of very clogged soil. And then with the weather improving, we did see we were anyways expecting the demand is going to be very good, but we literally hit the ground running in 2025. And we saw, even the producers had anticipated this, and they started raising prices for January onwards, Q1 of 2025, right from December. Like Yara announced its first price increase for January deliveries in December itself. And subsequently, we saw producers raising prices almost every week. And, there were about 4 to 5 price increases announced within the span of the first 3 months of 2025, but demand continued to be very strong. Having said that, sometime in the middle of Q1, we did see that, it became very dry. There was not enough rain, especially in March. We saw, so a lot of the application had to be put on hold because the soil was just too dry. And then after, I think about, this went on for about 3 weeks, and then we did see some rain, and we've seen farmers coming back, which is the reason why you are seeing a lot more activity now in April. And but as we are entering May, we are expecting that maybe in about a week or 10 days, the activity is going to be over, and we are already seeing a little bit of a decline in demand as the peak season is over. But yes, April has been very active, very unusually active. Yes.
Yes, indeed. It's a bit different from what we usually see in the market, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I think also the situation in urea, of course, influenced where we came like in April. So what do you think? Just 2 weeks ago, the largest long-awaited Indian tender was finalized for urea, and it came as a kind of surprise because it was quite weak. First of all, it came very late. It was quite weak, meaning that it was not able to support the market in general, and for nitrogen in general, not only for urea. So what was the effect of the tender, if there was any, at nitrates?
So typically, Maria, whenever urea prices go up too high, we do see some kind of migration coming back to nitrates. Having said that, urea is always the more affordable fertilizer, and hence it is also the fertilizer of choice for farmers. In now, the trend has been a little different when you talk about the UK and Europe. For instance, in Europe, the grain prices were there was an improvement in grain prices. So there's more affordability for the European farmers. And so we did see that, they have been buying substantial amount of urea, but also substantial amount of CAN and ammonium nitrate. Whereas in the UK, the grain prices are still low, so affordability is still in question. Also in the UK, the farmers have been hit by certain measures by the government, like in a farm inheritance tax, and so they have been extremely cautious as they have proceeded for buying. Typically, in the first quarter, it is urea that is bought in the UK, and then nitrates buying begins in April. Uh, Nitrates, we are expecting the nitrate prices there is a downward pressure definitely for that. But it has been a little delayed, and people have been still buying protected urea in the UK. Now, when you talk about the India urea tender, yes, India had come into the market with about 1.5 million tons requirement, and they were able to garner only 900,000 tons. Now, even that is quite a lot of urea, considering that India was the only market where you are seeing a little bit of demand for urea. Like in Europe, they are saying that maybe again in another week or 10 days, urea demand would have completely died down. Even Brazil, there is no demand for urea. I don't think they are going to come into the market before July. So typically, it was only India that is buying. But very surprisingly, urea prices have been going up. This In the last week or 10 days, we have been seeing urea firming, and if this trend continues, I don't think it will continue. But of course, Deepika is the expert on urea. But if it does continue, it will impact nitrates. But having said that, I think the season is coming to an end even for nitrates. So any incremental demand after that is going to be slow. It's going to be for filling storage. But having said that, even we are seeing that this year as well, farmers have been extremely cautious about building up stocks because they don't know where prices are actually heading, and they have been burnt in 2024 and 2023, where they found that there was a lot of expensive stock lying in storage which they were not able to offload because prices came down. So they are a little cautious, and it's mostly on a need to apply basis and a little bit of stock building. I heard also in certain markets like the Baltics, uh, producers have incentivized the purchase of nitrates. For instance, they have told distributors to buy stock and to push stock, and they offered credit notes that promising them that in case prices come down further, then they will make good on those credit notes. So distributors they're encouraging distributors to buy, but that is the situation today. People do not want to buy too much ahead of application because they don't know where prices are going to go. They don't know how factors are going to, impact the situation.
Right, right. So taking into account all what you said, what will be the situation with demand in Q2? What do you expect for nitrates in Q2? Maybe which other markets will step into purchasing mode?
We do expect that demand for calcium ammonium nitrate will continue. Your urea ammonium nitrate also, there's between the second season begins for urea ammonium nitrate, where 75% of UAN is bought between May and December. So we are going to see increment, like a little bit of demand, steady but slow demand. But otherwise, for ammonium nitrate, I think the season is coming to an end. So typically, Q2 is a little lean. It's a lean period for nitrates demand.
Right. Let's maybe zoom a bit into the situation with Yuan. You mentioned already that indeed the purchasing season of Yuan is approaching, but I would like to zoom a bit into the situation with Yuan in the US, because again, it was a bit unusual this year. As far as I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, please, there were two parts of this problem. So first part was that there was a hiccup in production of UAN just before the most active application season. And second, tariffs, famous tariffs, came as a surprise and disrupted actually urea supply right in the middle of the season when the corn acreage is historically high. So, what is the situation there now, and what do you expect it? Do you expect it to develop further?
Okay. So in the US, UAN, I think producers are now at the moment sold out. And so there is definitely a lack of material. Supply is very tight. And, because of that, we are seeing a lot more activity in the urea market. For instance, urea prices have also been firming because of that. For instance, on Friday, we saw that the NOLA price of urea in the NOLA barge market, it touched $505 dollars per short ton FOB, which is the highest since we've seen in November 2022. And so urea is firm, and there is a lot more demand for, and we are seeing people migrating or buying more urea because there's just not enough UAN available in the market. From what I understand, CF is already sold out for May, and in the inlands, and there is a little bit of availability for June in certain markets, but even that is very low.
I see. I see. Thank you very much. Uh,
Also, you touched upon the import tariffs. But speaking of the tariffs, well, we don't know what is going to happen as of now. About we everybody's got a 90-day reprieve from President Trump. But having said that, there are not. We don't know also whether this is actually going to impact fertilizers, because from what I understand, you a lot of if you take UAN for instance. US imports about 49% or 47 to 49% of their UAN from Russia, another about 23% from 23 or was it 27% from Trinidad, and very negligible amount from Europe. As you know, there are no sanctions on Russian product, and Trinidad also has got the minimum tariff. So I don't think US is going to be impacted by tariffs so much, even if they do levy those import tariffs. I don't see they do get about 20% from Canada, but again, they have this agreement with Canada, and we'll have to see how that is going to how things are going to work out in the future. How after the 90 days, what kind of agreements, bilateral agreements, Canada and US have with regards to trade, and we'll still have to study that situation. And even if tariffs are increased, there I don't see a significant impact on UAN for sure. Yeah,
I see.
because like I said, they depend a lot more on Russia and Trinidad for product.
Exactly, exactly. In terms of tariffs, I was also interested, like in vice versa situation. So let's assume that the tariffs remain as it is. I mean, nothing changes.
10%.
Yeah, it means that Europe will get 20% tariff, and definitely Europe will make the move to balance the tariffs. So US product will also have 20% in Europe in this case, I assume. So maybe this might influence situation not that much in US itself, but in Europe, because Europe receives UAN from the US. And that would be a question mark how it can influence the European consumption in this case. But I agree that now it's too early to discuss, because so many things change every day, and we just discuss the situation which is currently, which might again change later. So I propose to leave this question for our next quarterly discussion. Hopefully there will be more clarity at that stage. So now I propose to move to the situation with supply. of nitrates. When we last met, we discussed that gas price was elevated clearly because it was like middle of the heating season that pushed more production curtailments of producers in Europe. And now, because of both seasonal but also geopolitical events, gas price goes down. So last week, last what I saw TTF, it was already lower than $11 per MMBTU and decreasing. Ammonia prices are also under great pressure now everywhere in the world, and also the price is decreasing. So how do you evaluate the supply situation for Q2 in these circumstances?
Well, the supply situation is actually good, as you pointed out, because ammonia and gas prices are lower. So cost of production has come down for producers, and most producers are operating at near full capacity. But having said that, we are going to enter a lean period. So we are going to see. We'll have to wait to see what action producers are going to take with regards to production now. We did see that, in the early part of the first quarter, we had, a lot of producers like SKWP, for instance, one of the ammonia lines, they had stopped producing because of elevated prices, as you pointed out, but, they brought it back on stream. We have seen problems with Yara's Ferrara plant. I think it's a very old plant, and so it has been production has been on and off. At the moment, we understand the production is on. So there should be no supply constraint as such. One important factor that we are seeing in Europe is that we are seeing a lot of Russian product coming in, ammonium nitrate and calcium ammonium nitrate, which is flooded the market. And Russian product is typically cheaper, so that is putting a downward pressure on nitrate prices. We are, going into July. There was this proposal to impose incremental import tariffs on Russian imports, and the proposal is currently lying with the European Parliament. And but that has to be ratified. But once it comes into effect, it will come into effect from 1st of July, and so probably we'll see. How this will spill into the third quarter, and we'll see how the situation evolves then. My sense is that a lot more product is coming in from Russia now because they are anticipating, the import tariff to kick in from 1st of July. So they want to get as much as they can into Europe. So we are seeing, in markets like Germany, for instance, we are seeing an oversupply of CEN at the moment. Yes, and ammonium nitrate as well. But once demand wanes, we'll have to see what happens to all this product that is coming in, and then maybe Q3 we'll have a better picture of where the tariff situation is. But at the moment, this is what is the major concern for domestic producers in Europe, because they are concerned that they are not able to. It's impacting their industry because prices are just being pushed down.
I see. Thank you. And also one small comment to what you just said regarding the tariffs for Russian products. When I look at the tariffs that they propose, like additional levies that they propose, I would say that perhaps Russian producers will be able to absorb at least levies of the first year, because they start with quite insignificant amount. Again, please share your view, because the cost of production, I believe, is much, much lower versus the difference with these potential levies. What is your opinion?
Well, you're right. Cost of production for Russian fertilizers is much lower, and they have a very healthy domestic market as well. So a lot of the product is first supplied there. Russia has export quotas for exporting nitrates and urea and all nitrogen and complex fertilizers. In fact, yesterday we heard that Russia has, so they come out with these export quotas every 6 months. So yesterday, I think they announced fresh quotas for the period May to November, and they have increased the quotas for urea, for nitrogen and nitrogen fertilizer exports and other complex fertilizers. They have increased it to around 20 million tons. I think of which about 12.5 million tons is for ammonium nitrate alone.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is an interesting.
I'm sorry, I stand corrected. I think 12.5 million tons is for nitrogen
Mhm.
fertilizers, and the balance 7.5 million tons is for uh, complex fertilizers.
Right, right. Thank you. Yeah, we will definitely watch the situation developing in a quarter from now. And I would like to thank you very much, Manuja, as well. As always, it was great talking to you, and thank you for sharing your insights. So I hope that we meet here in a quarter from now and discuss all these developments. I believe there will be again a lot of news because the world is moving very quickly now.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah, I wish you all the
And
best
things are
for.
constantly evolving. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, indeed.
absolutely. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Maria. And I look forward to the next quarter.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. As usually, I will leave all credentials of Manuja and ISIS in the comments. Please let me know in the comments which other questions related to nitrates market you would like me to cover, and I will be happy to do so with Manuja in a quarter from now, or maybe earlier if there are some important questions that are needed to be covered. Please subscribe to the channel, put like to this video, push the bell in order not to miss any updates, and see you soon.